Asylum, it's going to become difficult to convince the Americans that you are a political refugee. Very difficult. So, tutafuta njia ingine ya kuishi hapa. I was in Saudi Arabia and I saw firsthand what is happening there. What you're seeing and what is happening are totally different. And we'll be announcing. The racket is not actually Saudi Arabian problems, sana in Kenya. The passports are being held by the agencies belonging to Kenyans. They want to choose of passports. The issue about caregivers, and it's good, you know, but it's an industry. You Kenyans, you're creative, eh? Sindio? Mujipange. So in terms of security of the country, it's a big thing we discussed in cabinet yesterday, and some of the clips you are seeing are not from Kenya. We eventually found out. If you zoom in, unaona hiyo gari si ya Kenya. But it's alarming. Government services are not given to you according to your political affiliation. They are given to you because you are a citizen.
In course of my practice, I encountered a lot of Kenyan US citizens who want to adopt their grandchildren for immigration purposes. This is not possible at this time. Does the cabinet intend to resume international adoption, which was banned in 2014? The US government, that is the second question, granted 317,000 temporary agricultural and non-agricultural visas. Unfortunately, Kenya is not one of the countries eligible for the grant of these H2A and H2B visas. Has the government pursued or intend to pursue this? A lot of questions were answered by our CS, and I almost thought that maybe he had my phone, so we don't have a lot of questions here. It's about consulate, and there's one about retirement. I retired in 2004 from Kenya, and my pension goes to my KCB account in Kenya. I'm told it has been transferred to diaspora. Rosalind Kialo has been handling my case, and up to now have not been able to access to my retirement account, though had sent her all the required document details. Would you please access my account?
So this is a Kenyan who is retired?
Yes.
Here or in Kenya?
I think he retired and now he's here. He retired in Kenya, now he's here.
He's here?
Yeah.
And he was sending the money home?
Yes.
Or she was sending the money home? She was being sent home. So she wants to be able to access her funds from here.
I retired.
She's the one. She's right here.
I'm the one.
Okay, you can continue the questions and she can come and talk.
Hall that you are inviting people to come and build. Now, in the same docket, you can fight for diaspora SPPP to get land. We are able to do housing. Housing is a major thing. I know it's one of your docket you're dealing with, and is one of the Dr. Ruto's forum. So, as we are ready to build the houses you're talking about, we just need that land. If the governors are reluctant, can you just provide this land for us and we'll build the houses? Thank you.
I appreciate that we recognize the diaspora, that they are the biggest contributors foreign exchange earners in Kenya. But when we do invest in Kenya, we are paying tax on the amount of money that we invest in, and we are paying tax here on the same amount. Is it possible, if you can, when you go back home and talk to the cabinet, that on what we invest, we should not pay tax on it? Thank you.
There's a gentleman who asked a question in the front about our youth going to drugs and ABCD, etc., etc. And I know that the CS cabinet has a kitty for the foreign diaspora. Within that kitty, Is there a way that you can look into employing maybe psychiatrists? People can work directly with our youth here who indulge in drugs and etc. and etc. And lastly, that's for you, Ted. That's for you, Ted. Okay, cool. The last question is that when you're applying for, when you're renewing your passport, or if you have a lost passport, the only challenge I see, I tried it once, is the payment part of it. Where if you don't have a connection with a SAFCOM number, your number here, which you should pay through probably SendWave or whatever, it's not possible. Is there a way we can connect that? Thank you.
Kwa majina naitwa Agatha Kaluki, natoka mahali naitwa Masii. Sasa, my question is about the housing project of the government. Okay, there are those houses they are talking about. Can the CS follow up, because we don't have enough information about those houses they are building in Pangani. Okay, like me, I was a civil servant. I know them. I'm getting the information from my fellow civil servant. As I retired from the civil servant and came over, they are telling me. But we need the government to send people to come and talk to the people of the diaspora, because we have been cheated, as talked before. Okay, those people, there are people who came during the meeting of Quito. They talked about it, but people could not take it serious because they are not getting it directly from the government and tell them what it means, because we might send the money and go to the war.
Thank you.
Okay.
Basi nitaisoma, nitaweza kujibu kwa mtindo wa chapcha. Wakili Wanjoi aliuliza kuhusu adoption ya watoto. As you know, we stopped the adoption. Right now there's a treaty that we have not yet ratified. It's a Hague Treaty that stops child trafficking, which makes it very difficult for us to have adoptions, international adoptions, because of child trafficking. So I believe that in a few months' time, not this coming month, next month, when Parliament resumes, because they're going to go on break and it's not in the list, it will be ratified, we'll be able to sign it, and that will allow us now to go to fix that system of adoption. The reality is ya kwamba watoto walikuwa wanaibiwa na kuuzwa. Unajua ni uzuri kujua. Unasikia mama amepoteza mtoto, mtoto alienda kwa duka, amepotea nywa, the next thing mtoto anaitwa John Smith. Yuko watoto wanaibiwa. So I mean that's the reality. It became a racket. So it was not stopped because of, it was stopped because there were actually a lot of issues. About the government visas, H2A, H2B, we're having a bilateral discussion with the American government about our visas and about also opening up spaces for Kenyans to come. But also you have to remember, Kenya is no longer a low-income country. We have now moved from low towards what they call low medium, towards a medium-income country. In other words, we are richer than other African nations. As you become richer, you get less in terms of aid and msaada na mambo kupewa. Unaelewa? It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Utakuwa maskini saa zote unaomba msaada, you are becoming richer. So Kenya has moved from huko chini, sasa tumekuja video ndio tuende sasa. Unaelewa? So we are that. So as you move up, some of these other offers are cut off because you've been able to move on. Unaelewa Au mtaka tukae huko chini tu. So we have to move up, yes, video. Now about Rosemary talked about retirement and access to accounts. I think it's the thing I was talking about, where you can retire, but also you're able to send your money to Kenya. So when you move to Kenya, you can be able to access your money. If you say to stay here, we're working out modalities so you can be able to draw your money from here. And I want to answer that issue of double taxation also in investment. Each country has its tax regime. In the US, you come from Kenya, invest here, you have to pay taxes. What we're looking at is this. If you come and invest in Kenya, We want to be able to be in a position to give you a window. So we say no taxes for the first so many years, 5 years, 3 years, so that you can establish yourself. Menipata? So we give you a waiver, so can, but you do taxes. Only 2 things are real in life. They say taxes and death. And taxes lazima ilipwe. Sasa kuwadanganya. Issues of huduma number, it's telling. That's an issue that is, I've had it all over. So that's some of the systems that I said we are going to put into place, together with biometrics for passports, etc., etc. I'm thinking we need to have a diaspora M-Pesa. So you can do diaspora M-Pesa, even using your international numbers. You can register to M-Pesa. You don't have to register using Unaelewa? So we are working, and I'll engage Safaricom, and trust me, within a few months, if not a month, you'll hear from us. We'll announce something to the diaspora in terms of exchange and everything. Swali ya diaspora police nitairuka. I was in Saudi Arabia and I saw firsthand what is happening there. What you're seeing and what is happening are totally different. And we'll be announcing. The racket is not actually Saudi Arabian problems, sana in Kenya. There's a lot of cultural issues and processes that I could understand. It's also big business. For every Kenyan that is taken to Saudi Arabia, the agencies are paid about 350, 400,000. So ukitoa tikiti kila kitu, they're making 100, 150,000. So you take 100, 200 Kenyans in a month, you're making 10, 15 million Kenya shillings. So it becomes biashara. And what they're doing, they're going there, unaenda Pokot, unaenda kule Kinyui Ukambani, you take this girl who earns nothing, unamwambia twende Saudi Arabia, you'll be earning 20, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. When the girl goes there, they are supposed to be trained on how to operate a gas cooker, how to operate a microwave, how to operate these rackets at home. Don't train them. Msichana anafika mahali anachoma nyumba ya mtu, anaweka kijiko ndani ya microwave inalipuka, anaenda anachanganya, anaweka viatu ndani ya washing machine. Unaelewa? Because the day is yona, because they were supposed to be trained, they were not trained. Makosa tu ile greed ya nyumbani, private sector wanafanya kazi. Rectified. There are other issues. I sat down with the Saudi Arabian government and they told me there is no law. And they showed me they don't hold anybody's passport. The passports are being held by the agencies belonging to Kenyans. They want to choice of passports. And the reason they're also doing that, because they also a racket. There's a big racket going on. Unfortunately, the truth has to come out. Our girls are suffering because some are sent there on order. Wanataka shepi, akifika domestic worker, wanamtoa huyo Mkenya, anaingia kazi ya kuuza mwili. You fall out of status in Saudi Arabia. If you're not legal, you cannot access medical care. If you go to access medical care and you are not legal, they will treat you, but then they will deport you. But because you want to be deported, unakaa nyumbani bila kupata medical care. And many other complicated issues. But we know what is going on, and we're involved, and we're sorting it out. It may take a year, but we'll sort it out. Lakini shida imeanza na Wakenya. Wanauza Wakenya wenzao. That is what I found. Wanauza Wakenya wenzao. It's a racket. It broke my heart. I talked to the women. They told me how they left, how they came, they were lied to, that here you are making 40,000-50,000, wewe kuja tuonyesha Waarabu, utaambia kuna make $250,000 a month, utajengea mama kazi nyumbani. That is what is happening, unfortunately. And then there are other abuses that you hear here and there, and then ukitoroka, yule Mwarabu, because they are coming lipa nearly $500,000 shilling, ndio kuja mfanyie kazi na kulipa, anasema ulimuibia. Otherwise, umlipe hiyo $500,000 ndio urudi kufanya kazi, because now they have to look for another domestic worker, walipa another. Unaelewa hiyo? So another cultural issue there, back and forth. I came, I'm living here. I'll be in Washington DC. I'll go to New York for different meetings, UN Security Council and others. So I'm leaving here tomorrow early in the morning to Washington DC. then after that to New York, then I go to Korea to receive our president who is coming. We have a bilateral meeting there before our president gets there. He's going to South Korea for an investor's a state visit. Now, the issue about caregivers, and it's good, you know, but it's an industry. You Kenyans, you're creative, eh? Sindio? Mujipange. Mnajipanga. I've seen Kenyans wamejipanga kwa hiyo industry sana. Umeelewa, eh? Yeah, hiyo industry mnajipanga na industry zingine. We don't just want people coming here to do caregiving. It's very good, you make money, but Mujipange said we want Kenyans to come here also and be pilots. Want Kenyans to come here and be doctors and nurses. Want Kenyans to come here and be engineers and professional accountants in finance and in many other ways. Yes. The issue of treasury bills and bonds, I think I talked about that, about the diaspora fund, and that will help. Now, in terms of the security of the country, it's a big thing we discussed in the cabinet yesterday, and some of the clips you are seeing are not from Kenya. We eventually found out. If you zoom in, unaona hiyo gari si ya Kenya, but it's alarming. There has been a breakdown in the command structure, especially in the role of the police, because of the changes that are going on, and that has led to what 𝐜𝐤𝐤, but they will be dealt with. I promise you, they will be dealt with. About elections and voting, we're working on that. I'm one of the posts pushing for diaspora to vote. Voting. Scholar talked about dual citizenship. It is your right. And I'm going to, when I get back next week, I'm going to ensure that that process is streamlined. And there's no problem. The Constitution of Kenya, and we are a government of rule of law, and the Constitution of Kenya Kwanza says that it is your right to be a dual citizen. Sindio? Si hata Miguna alikuwa anasema I'm not boarding. Sasa yuko na passport ya Kenya. Hii mambo unasukuma Mkenya kwa sababu you don't like what they say. We don't care. And William Ruto amesema, unajua tulikuwa tunatumia WhatsApp. Ulikuwa unapiga simu unaambia hapana weka kwa WhatsApp. Kwanza unafikiri unasikizwa. Sisi watu wa serikali hatuongee na WhatsApp. Nipigie simu, nobody is listening to your phone calls. Hakuna, Kenya is a free country. Freedom of expression. Tukana serikali, ongea mbaya, do whatever. You know, criticize the government, nobody will come for you. That is your right under the Constitution. That is your right. And we will protect it. And that's what our government is about. We change our foot, because it is when we criticize the government, that is when things are, because we don't know at times. And so I look at that process, and we can talk. After this meeting, see happy, I'm around. You come, we do one-on-ones. Come to hang around, kuja chai pamoja, I'll be around for a while. Sindio, wale wanaenda waende, lakini I'll be around. Kuja tusalimiane, then I can elaborate more on some of those things. Mary Mudhoni, you asked about diaspora and all the documents. And as I said, it doesn't matter who you voted for. It doesn't matter who you support politically. Even in this country, you can be a Republican, you can be a Democrat, you can be the Greens. When you go for government services are not given to you according to your political affiliation. They're given to you because you are a citizen. Yeah. And that is the same thing in Kenya. So you have nothing to worry about. There is no discrimination in government services. You are a Kenyan, you are a Kenyan. And you are given that any benefit that you should be getting. It's sad about the youth and drugs, so I'll get more briefing. So I'll need to get more briefing. But I know I've lived here. I know what wanapotea, I know that. It's all about, as I said, it's all about the embassy being able to cushion. And also the Kenyan community here, you look very organized. You're able to cushion for the rest of us. Onesimus Musengi, you talked about asylum. It's going to become difficult for Kenya to get an asylum, get asylum in the US. Because you're given asylum out of political persecution and other persecution. Kenya is a democratic country. So you know, it's going to be very difficult to convince the Americans that you are a political refugee. Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. So, tutafute njia ingine ya kuishi hapa. It's going to be very difficult because the American embassy in Nairobi is one of the biggest embassies they have in the world. I think they say it's a fourth or fifth largest embassy with so many officers. They wanazunguka Kenya yote. They know the political situation. They know the social situation. Sasa hiyo story happened. But I get the point. You know, it used to be used, but you know, just Pastor Kiama, we can talk some more. I like your point about the bank account and everything and being opening. Somebody asked me when I was coming in, I met a gentleman who said that they have a problem also whereby you've got assets here, but our banks don't recognize those assets as equity when you apply for loans. So we're going to see, because I think it's because they can't be able to grab them unless they have a partnership with another bank here, and that bank takes the surety. So we'll work on the modalities to see. But the best thing is, why can't we open a Kenyan bank here?
Yep.
Sindio? Tunafungua banki ya Kenya hapa, tufungue banki ya Kenya hapa, sindio? Tunakunanga tukiwa Nairobi, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, US Bank, tufungue Kenya bank hapa, ambayo inaelewa kale kashamba kako kale kizegela. Sindio? Inajua kale kashamba kwa kizegela, kama namna hii, sindio? It's easy to deal with it. But we look at it. Immigration Department, a desk, point well noted for action. But also, once we sort out the system, you may, if you come on nyumbani, you can do all the applications here. You don't have to nyumbani kuchukua passport. So you don't have to go home and do all those things. Jen, I think I've answered that question. Now, PPP, the Office of the Deputy President has mandated, and he is very keen on this, to work on investment from outside, from the Ministry of Trade, from our development partners, and also coming. Ile bureaucracy ya PPP tumetoa. Here tuna apply frustration, lazima uone mtu hapana, tunaitaka chapter. Unaingia na idea yako, si pesa yako. Bring the money. Well, lete pesa, why are you frustrating you? We clear those things because Kenya wants to have rapid development. And we know in 5 years' time, Tutambi, Kenya Kwanza, bottom up never worked if it doesn't work. So we have to make sure it works for the benefit of all of us. Now, Madam Kaloki, unajua ni mjanja kidogo, alisema I'm from Masi because she knows I'm from Masi. So, it was not just saying, alisema tu hivyo. She was just telling me nimetoka kubali nimetoka. So it's coming from a village. So Madam Kaloki, this thing of housing, it's true. Please, if you can invest in housing, and people are talking about this, and we'll bring materials. It's a big industry now. We need to build over 200,000 homes in the housing sector, and the government itself will be able to give you surety that you build those houses, the government will help you sell those houses, or will sell the houses. And it will go through a system whereby there is a non-contractor who is building, or even you yourself as a contractor in building. So we give you free land, you build, you sell, you make your money. It's a good investment. It was part of the Big Four housing plan that in the Promoka, because of lack of transparency, now we revived it. And it is also a good plan for poor Kenyans who live in very bad housing. Because now you'll be able to live in a beautiful home, a one-bedroom home with a toilet inside, with a nice shower, with a kitchen, up to international standards, and you're only paying 5,000 to 10,000 shillings a month as mortgage for the next 10, 15, 20 years. So you own that home. So instead of going to rent a house for 10,000, why don't you have a mortgage for 10,000? That is where we're going. We're empowering Kenyans. That's our concept. It's called the plan. And the other things that we've not talked about, we are organizing Kenya Airways so that it's better. We are joining with South Africa, also we are forming a Pan-African Airways. So it can have a bigger, better airline that can come, go all over the world, because Kenya Airways is hemorrhaging, as you know. And we can't be bailing it all the time, but it is also important to have an airline called Kenya Airways. So we are looking at all those things. I think I've covered nearly everything. I've covered nearly everything. And we can talk, and I've taken extensive notes. We can talk until tomorrow, but these issues never end. Wacha tuanze kazi, and I promise you I'll come back here, hopefully on a warm day, and we can sit somewhere, tukule kambuzi, tupige stories, mahali tuniambia Mutua ulisema utafanya, na umefanya. Chap chap. Si ndio? And then we're going to do it. Naomba tusimame tu.